For today's video, I want to show you how to make these fun Selene spiral bracelets. Now, Selene spiral is basically a peyote stitch or a version of peyote stitch. These bangles are some of my new favorite things to make and wear. They don't take too awful long. It's just kind of a repetitive thing, but they are so fun to wear. I just love them. And there's a lot of things that you can do with them too to make different, what's the word I'm looking for? Different patterns and designs with them. For today's video, I'm going to be teaching you this bracelet here. This actual design that's in this one. It's similar to this one, except for this one has more size 15 seed beads in it, so the actual crevices of the bracelet are deeper. So I'm going to show you this one here, only using the one size 15. And I wanted to do something in a Halloween theme, so I'm going to be using a metallic purple 15, a lime green 11, a matte orange AB size 8 seed bead, and a opaque black size 6. Now the thing with this bracelet is that if I try to use my fire line, it gets so stiff that it will not bend into this pretty shape, and that's because I'm a very stiff beater. I pull very tightly. So if you pull tightly, do not use the fire line. If you're a very loose beater, fire line will be okay. What I'm going to be using today is the S-line cord, and this is a size D S-line cord. It takes, let's see, I think we sell these for like $1.55 or $1.60 at the store, I can't remember, and it's very nice to use. It's pretty much kind of already waxed, but I'll use a little bit of wax to wax it. And how I do that basically is, I'm just going to cut off a small piece because I've already done mine so you can see. But basically what I do is I take the wax and I grab a hold and pull it through the wax holes. It has wax holes and you can just take and pull it through. And this helps so that if you get a knot in it, it's a lot easier to get that knot out. But you want to work with as much thread as you feel comfortable working with. To start off, I'm going to use, I normally have to put about 2 4-yard pieces of thread is normally what it kind of takes to do my bangle. So I'm going to pick up 1 15, 1 11, 1 8, 1 6, and 1 11. So I have 5 beads actually picked up. I'm going to pull these beads down, and I want to leave myself a good little tail, probably about 6 inches. And I'm going to take the needle, and from the tail, I'm going to come back through the very first bead that I threaded on, which would be that metallic purple 15. So that it makes a funky little circle just like this. I'm going to pick up a 15, and this is the only time we do this on this row. I'm going to pick up a 15 and go through the very next 11. So I'm not skipping any to start my thing yet. So I picked up a 15, went through the very next 11, pick up an 11, and go through the very next bead, which is an 8. Pick up an 8, go through the very next bead, which is an 11. I'm sorry, a 6. Pick up a 6 and go through the very next bead, which is an 11. And then I'm going to pick up an 11, and instead of going through the very next bead, which is a 15, I'm going to go right up through the first, or that first 15 I added in this row. So I'm not going to go through the very next 15, I'm going to go through the very first one I added in the row. So that now I have sets of 2 all the way around. And this is going to look really funky until you get it started. So now I'm going to pick up a 15 and I'm going to go through my 11 that is sticking up. So it's the 11 I just added in this previous row. So it's this one furthest away from me. So I'm going to go through that one. I'm going to pick up an 11. I'm going to skip one orange and go through the second orange, which is the highest one here. I'm going to pick up an orange, which is my size 8. I'm going to skip the first black and go through the second black, which sits up higher. I'm going to pick up a 6. I'm going to skip the first green and go through the second green, which is my little higher one. And then I'm going to pick up an 11. I'm going to skip this low 15 and go through the high one, which was the first one that I added in this row, and pull. You want to pull and make sure all your beads go on top of each other exactly like they need to. I'm going to pick up a 15. Getting started is the hardest part. Once you get it started, it's just repetitive motion. Pick up a 15 and go through my top 11. So I'm basically going to skip a green and go up through a green here. Pick up an 11, skip my low orange and go up through the high orange. Pick up an orange, which is my 8, skip the first black, go through the second one, which is the higher one. Pick up my 6, skip the low green, go through the high green. Pick up a green, skip the low purple, go through the high purple. Pick up a 15, skip the low green, go through the high green. And you want to pull kind of tight at this point, just so it's all bunching kind of together. Pick up an 11, skip the low orange and go through the high orange. Pick up an orange 8, skip the low 6 and go through the high 6. Pick up an 8, or I'm sorry, a 6, skip the low green, so the low 11 and go through the high 11. And so you can already see my spiral starting. Pick up a green, skip the low purple, go through the high purple. Pick up a 15, skip the low green, go through the high green. Pick up an 11, skip the low, go through the high. Pick up an 8, skip the low 6, go up through the high 6. And so this is all you're going to do all the way around. Just pick up your bead, skip one, and go through the one sticking up. Round and round and round and round. Just continually. Now you can definitely see with the 6s how the spiral is starting out. You can start to see the purple there, and you can see the green and the orange. So we're starting to see our first spiral here. And this is exactly what you want. It's fun to experiment with the different kinds of beads, different sizes, different shapes of beads. When you do Cellini spiral, it's just really, really fun to work with. You can add more beads to make it thicker in diameter, but this is kind of about 5 beads around is about what I like to do, because with the 5 beads around going in a circle like this, you end up with a nice diameter for a bracelet. So picking up a 6, going through the 11. And so see, you can see that spiral just taking shape right there. If you've not seen the spiral, then you've done something wrong and want to back up and go back. But each time you're just picking up your bead, and it's always the bead you're coming out of is the bead you're going to pick up. See, I'm coming out of a green, so I'm going to pick up a green and go through the purple. I'm going to pick up, I'm coming out of a purple, I'm going to pick up a purple and go through the green. Pick up my green, because I'm coming out of a green, go through the high orange, pick up an orange, because that's what I'm coming out of, skip the low black and go through the high black. Pick up the black, because I'm coming out of black, skip the low green, go through the high green. And so now you can really see this spiral taking shape. And your black or your 6s are just going to just continually spiral along. And you'll be able to see as you keep working, you know, it goes pretty quick. It's going to take you probably about 3 to 4 hours, depending on your experience, to get this stitched up. So if you're a little bit slow at it, don't worry. Just keep going, because you'll get it. It's like I said, it's just a repetitive motion over and over and over and over. So you're going to continue working this spiral until you get it to the desired length. Now for me, I wear a 7-inch bracelet. So this is what it looks like finished. And the diameter or the length of what I have now, and I'll kind of zoom out so you can see my whole mat here. Your mat is about 14 inches long. So for the diameter that I have, I probably have about 9 to 10 inches. And you just want it to be able to go over the largest diameter of your hand. So when you measure, you'll want to measure the widest diameter here of your hand. Because when you put it on, it has to be able to roll easily over that part of your hand. And then roll back off over that widest part of your hand. So each person, when you make this into a bangle, is going to have to kind of judge for their own diameter for the length. But this is what I have here, and you just basically want to continue until you've got the length. There's no exact way to stop or place to stop. What I do is when I stop, I try and stop after, like on this one here, I stopped on our pattern after the last 11. So I'm going to have to put on one more 11, and then we'll stop and I'll show you what we're doing. So I'm going to put on my last 11 here. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. So I'm going to go through that last 11. Now, so that this doesn't get loose, I'm going to go through all the beads again. So I'm going to, instead of adding any, I'm just going to go through the low one and the high one. Then I'll go through the low and the high 6, or 8. Then through the low and the high 11. And I'll just go all the way around, going through the low and the high bead, so that way it kind of keeps these tight as I get ready to connect them. And just watch and be careful, because if you get your thread caught around the beads, you want to make sure that you can go ahead and fix that before you finish, because if you finish, there's no way to go back and fix your giganto problem. Alright, so now I'm going to take the 2 ends that I have here, and when you line your ends up, this to me is the hardest part of the whole bracelet, because you have to line them up so that the spiral is still continuing in the same direction. So see how when this locks together, the spiral will still be able to continue without breaking the cycle. Because the whole purpose is to be able to do it and not tell where you put it together at. And see, here's the black. You can't tell where we put it together at, and that's the whole purpose. So you may have to kind of play until you figure it out, but you want to, when you lay them together, you want them to be able to, when they interlock, you want them to be able to finish out a continuous flow. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tail thread here, and I'm going to thread a needle onto this end, and I'm going to stitch through my beads and tie this tail thread off. So you just completely want to get rid of this little tail thread. And just put you a couple little half hitch knots in here. And then once you've got a couple of good knots in here, then go ahead and trim this little tail so you don't have to worry about it anymore. So I know here is where they're going to interlock, so I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit without it blurring so that you guys can see. Alright, now my thread is exiting out of a high green on the one side. So I want to make sure that when they interlock, it will go into, you're zipping this up almost just like you would in a regular peyote stitch. So I'm coming out of my second green here at the top. So I want to take and I want to go down through the first green here across from it. So I'm going to take, and you definitely want a stiff needle to do this. And I'm going to go through that first green. And pull. So that when you pull, you see how the green lines up there? And that's exactly what you want. So I'm going to turn it just a little bit here. I'm going to keep it pulled, but I'm going to try and turn it just a little bit so I can see a little better what I'm doing. And you can even just kind of hold it out like this if you want to so that you can see in this first part what you're doing. Alright, so I've come out of the green. Now I'm going to come across to the purple because purple is next after my green. So I'm going to go through the purple right across from the green. And pull. So I'm coming out of the purple here on the second side. So now I'm going to come back to the other side and I'm going to go through the purple. I'm going to skip one purple and go through the next purple. And you want to, at this point, really start pulling it so that when they seam, they're seaming together here. So I'm coming out of the green. So I'm going to come across to the green here. And this is kind of, I know this is hard to see, guys, but there's no easy way to show this actually on video screen. So I wish there was. Oops. So now I've gone through my green. Now I'm going to come across to my orange here. When you get to the big beads, it's a little bit easier. So you're going to go through the orange and pull it down. Now I'm going to go to this orange on the other side and go through that orange. So that, see how they go together right there? Now I'm just going to twist it a little bit here so that I can get back to where I was. So I'm coming out of the orange, so now I'm going to go up to the black and go through the black. Going to come down here to my black and go through the black. See now how it's fitting together? I come out of the black and come through the orange. Come out of the orange and go through the orange here at the bottom. So see, now everything's coming together exactly like it should. And so that now when you twist it, everything is connected. Now what you want to do is you want to go back through the beads again. You want to try to go back through your beads, just zigzagging through the beads that you just went through to help reinforce it. And so you can twist the piece like this to get it exactly where you need it to be. But each time, I'm just zigzagging across. From one bead on one side to the other bead on the other side. And then just continue to reinforce. Once you have the connection reinforced, then you're ready to go ahead and tie off your thread. So I've stitched my thread through to like a size 6 seed bead. And I just want to take the needle, go under the thread there between 2 6s, and leave myself a little loop, go through the loop, and pull. Then I'll stitch through some of my size 6s. Put the thread or the needle under the thread. Leave myself a little loop here. Go through the loop and pull. And I will normally put about 3 or 4 really good knots in here, and then I'll trim the tails. Now that you've done, you have a beautiful new bangle to wear. We do have all 3 kits available on our Etsy site that you can check out and purchase. And we also will have the pattern on our Etsy site and offthebeadedpath beadstore.com. So we'll see you again next time for another great beading video.